2, 3. Hi everyone, this is Michael here from the IT Recruitment Academy, GitRecruiter. We help recruiters recruit more geeks. That's why GitRecruiter, right? So today I'm preparing for a workshop that I'll hold tomorrow. I would like to share some of the insights, okay, to walk you through the agent and some of the key takeaways about how to source developers on GitHub. I almost said LinkedIn, because everyone is on LinkedIn, right? But not everyone uses GitHub. So let's dive right in. I have prepared some slides, so we can just go through them, right? So first, we are going to talk about why do developers even use Git and GitHub. Okay, then repositories on GitHub. What does it actually mean? How users actually manage their profiles, what can we find, how can we derive some value from it, how can we search developers, and then how can we message them and eventually attract. All right, so let's dive right in. We will start with this mind map, which is just the next slide here. So we usually prepare mind maps for everything, because that's how we teach recruiters. If you'd like to download some of the mind maps from our website for free, just go to recruiter.com, and somewhere in the footer there are at least 2-3 mind maps that you can download with no strings attached. So looking at this code versioning technology, first keep in mind that Git is a technology, and GitHub is a cloud provider using that technology. Okay, so why do developers use Git? Well, because Git enables them to collaborate together, to manage the versions of the systems, to resolve conflicts, to manage different versions, to merge their codes. As soon as more developers work on the same code, they can seamlessly merge the code. Okay, so that's why Git is used, very popular these days. It's more popular than SVN. SVN used to be a big thing years ago, but now it's actually Git that is very popular. It's really mainstream. Pretty much everyone uses Git these days. Oh, maybe not everyone, but the majority of developers use. And now GitHub is one of the cloud providers. So GitHub was popular thanks to the open source community, who started using it heavily. Same, version control, backtracking, some wiki system. So this is pretty obvious. GitLab is actually slightly different. Also uses Git, but they position themselves more as a DevOps tool. So they also have some features for project planning, continuous integration, continuous delivery, monitoring, as you can see here, right? So this is just on a high level, so you guys know why do developers even use Git and GitHub. Okay, so next we can look at why there are even these repositories on GitHub. Just let's look at an example. Bootstrap. So Bootstrap emerged from Twitter. I believe it was even called Twitter Bootstrap years ago. They have created really beautiful, well-functioning theme and grid system that enabled front-end developers to build websites faster and easier. So you can see here the website getbootstrap.com. They promote this framework. What you can see here on top right is actually a link to their GitHub repository. So if you click on it, you get to GitHub. And here on GitHub, they actually store the code that powers the whole framework. Right, so here you can see who changed what, you can see folders and files. In other words, a repository is a set of files organized in some folders. So it's like your folder system on your laptop, right? On your Mac is just slightly different because it is usually on the cloud. So on GitHub as an example, and you can see here that that there are different contributors. So you can see here 1,096 contributors to this particular repository, Bootstrap repository. They have over 19,000 commits which means, these 1,096 people saved 19,000 times different code. So one save, one commit could actually be multiple files together, updated, adjusted, even deleted, right? And then GitHub is also used to collaborate. So some of these repositories, like here you can see Bootstrap, they actually promote that they need help. This is how they work with the community. They promote they need help from external developers. So those who have some spare time go to GitHub and see, oh, there are 22 issues, or 10 issues from TensorFlow, or 4 issues from Facebook React, or 1 issue from Vue framework. And they can immediately see those issues and fix them if they want. So this is why GitHub is popular in the open source community. Now, you can also see some user profiles where we are actually now heading. This is my profile on GitHub. You can see here my activity. So these dots here indicate how frequently, which days do I commit. In other words, save code to GitHub's repositories. You can see that the gray means no commit, and the dark green means most commits. Okay, it's always relative. So you see, I commit across the year rather steadily, right? There were 2 weeks where I, in January haven't committed anything, but otherwise, say every week something. So this is also some indication. Whenever you are going through some of the profiles, you can maybe derive some value from it, like how someone is active, what repositories do they contribute to, and obviously you can see their profile information. My email address is also public, my website, some information, some description. And what is important are these repositories. So you can see 22 repositories that I either forked or created, these public repositories, followers, etc. Okay, so this is a profile, and next I would like you to understand that some repositories are actually forked and some are created by a user. So say I as a user on GitHub forked some repository, like for example this one, Jekyll now, I forked. Forked means created a copy. So I forked the repository. So even though it is included in my repositories, I have not written the code. I just forked it. I copied it. I copy pasted the code to my repository, to my GitHub profile. Here is an explanation what is actually fork. So a fork is a copy of a repository. Forking allows you to freely experiment with changes without affecting the original project. Most commonly, forks are used to either propose changes to someone else's project or to use someone else's project as a starting point for your own idea. And now I guess you also understand why GitHub is so popular among the open source community, because open source projects are all based on this premise, right? You see something that is open source, you fork it, and you start using their code to some new open source project. It has to be actually open source. If you fork something open source, it has to be open source going forward. Okay, cool. Next, you can also see the tag. For example, here, this repository is labeled as JavaScript. So the primary programming language is used JavaScript for this particular repository. For this other is also JavaScript. And on the right, you can see when this particular user was active, so actively contributing to this repository. So for example, here, this Hitman repository, active 3 days ago, 4, 5, maybe 2 weeks ago, while here this was maybe this was 30 days ago. So the scale is somehow relative, but you can see, when was the last. Actually, the last was here 13 days ago, but this major commit was maybe half a year ago. I guess you can see it here. Okay, And what is also important is to go through the activity. We see the commits, which in other words is log of activity, log of commits, log of saved files. We can see here this user, Ondraj, committed to this repository Hitman on November 8 and November 5. So this also gives you some insights into, is this user actually active on GitHub or not, or what's going on there. You can also see that users have some followers. Like in my case, I have only 27 followers because I'm not really an active user of GitHub open source community. I'm actually not even a developer myself, so there is no surprise. But those who are, like for example, Ondrej Jara, he has 533 followers, which is really cool. So as soon as he commits something, he publishes something, others see it, which is again really cool, and it helps the community to be active and grow. Now we are getting to something that is really really unique to GitHub. Users can adjust their location. They can edit the location, and it's plain text. So you can write pretty much anything. So in my case, I wrote Bratislava. Then I actually edited and wrote Bratislava, Slovakia. Some developers write just the country code, like SK in the case of Slovakia, or US, or sometimes they write Silicon Valley, US, right? So this actually makes it a little harder to source developers, but I'll show you in a sec how to make it work. So now we are getting to how to actually search for these developers on LinkedIn. So before we jump on it, I would like to ask a question. Was GitHub made to be an easy-to-use sourcing tool for non-tech-savvy developers? Well, you guessed the answer is no. No, GitHub was not meant to be an easy-to-use sourcing tool for non-tech-savvy recruiters, because GitHub was meant to be a tool for developers, right? Next, can recruiters use GitHub to source software developers? Okay, so this is a different question. Can recruiters use GitHub to source software developers? Yes, they can. Even though it was not meant to be a sourcing tool for developers, they can use. So you guys can use GitHub to source software developers. I use GitHub to source software developers. And the question number 3, can recruiters find on GitHub developers who are not on LinkedIn? Well, yes, the answer is yes. You as a recruiter can find on GitHub even developers who are not on LinkedIn. I can show you an example. Here is a developer, Pavel Hruchy, who has a profile on GitHub. He contributed to 20+ repositories. So he's a developer. He has some followers, but he doesn't have any profile on LinkedIn, as you can see here. So there is some other Pavel. Even the photo looks different. The skill set looks different. They both live in Slovakia, but they seem to be two very different individuals. And yeah, there are just so many people, so many developers who are not on LinkedIn at all. So again, can you use GitHub to source developers? Yes, you can. Is LinkedIn meant to be an easy-to-use tool? Sorry, not LinkedIn, but is GitHub meant to be an easy-to-use tool? Well, not really, but you can learn how to use it and then approach developers. So let's look at how can you get most out of this search functionality. You can see that there are 46 million users on GitHub, which is quite a lot, right? You can go to github.com/search and start searching for them. So as soon as you, for example, start searching by a location, in my case, I wrote a location Bratislava or location Slovakia. So as soon as you don't type anything, like it's meant like or, so location Bratislava or location Slovakia. So by default there is or between these two. So it shows you those who have written, for example, Slovakia or Bratislava in their location field. Now, you can scroll down. So for example, on this page, you just scroll down. You cannot see it on the screenshot, but if you would scroll down, you would see a list of programming languages. So as soon as you click of first, for example, JavaScript, you would see that out of those 4,500, 556 users are actually JavaScript programmers in Bratislava or Slovakia. Okay, which is not, it's not, you know, thousands or tens of thousands, but Slovakia is small, and yeah, this is better than nothing, right? It's not meant to be a sourcing tool, but still you can use it to get some good candidates here. Now, how can you actually make it a little more useful is you can enumerate some of the biggest cities. So for example, in Czech Republic, you would write Pardubice or Ostrava, Brno, Praha, Prague, because sometimes developers use both Praha and Prague. So you just keep this in mind, and you write Czech and CZ, because some developers have just location CZ, some write Czech Republic. So in this case, you just enumerate all and then compose the search string with all these, right? Okay, and I have actually prepared a URL generator that can make this really easy for you. So as soon as you just write these locations like Praha, Brno, Praha, Prague, Brno, Pardubice, Ostrava, Czech, CZ, and then it creates this link for you. So you can just click on this link. How can I? Well, actually copy this, and I'll see if I can post it to comments here. Okay, so this is the document that I'm referring to. Hopefully you will be able to see this link below this video. Okay, it's a Google spreadsheet link that you can use to, you know, source the developers on GitHub. Now the question is, how do you actually message these prospects? So I would, for example, start with looking at their profiles and identifying if there is some contact information available already. If this, great. If there is no contact information, well, then you need to use some other tool to actually get the contact information. And luckily, there are some tools like Contact Out. You can get this extension from the store, Chrome store in my case, and you can reveal the email address of this particular user. You just go to the URL, github.com/Mauron is his profile, and then click this button here, and bam, you see his email address, which is again really cool. You know, the question is, again, is this scalable? Can you do this 10,000 per day, 10,000 times per day? Well, most likely not. Again, coming back to the first question, is GitHub an easy-to-use tool for non-tech-savvy recruiters? Certainly not. But if you want to be a little more, you know, advanced, then this could be a way. So we start with searching. As soon as you search, I showed you how to search for developers. You search in some location using some language. Then you start screening some of these profiles. So you go to their profile detail and you try to identify if this particular profile is a good fit based on some of these tags or labels, right? You can see here this developer has PHP, 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 PHP in his source repositories, which is good. You know, this is a good sign this developer could be approached. You cannot see his email here, but you can use the extension I showed you a while ago. What about this developer? You certainly need to get his email address because there is no email address here. And then you write an email, but you don't want to write some like super long and boring email like, hey, how are you? I've seen your profile and I think I could share with you some interesting opportunity. You know, please find below the information, company, blah, 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 you know, and lots of bullet points, too heavy. Like no one is interested in this. This is super long, super boring. Developers are overwhelmed. This will not attract anyone. Yet I've seen many of these during our training sessions. This is just one of the examples, one of the screenshots. Another example would be here, where a recruiter shared during a training session, like, hey, you know, I'm a recruiter from, and I have this opportunity. I'm looking for a web developer. You know, your experience shows you can be a good candidate. I have attached a JD. It's just super boring, right? It's super boring. No personalization, nothing used to attract the developer, nothing interesting about the opportunity. You know, it even forces a developer to download a PDF file and open it and go through the job description, which is usually super boring. So you don't want to go through this hassle. At the same time, you don't want to go overboard and be, you know, a little too creepy. Like here, like, hey, you know, I was looking at the Node.js code you wrote and committed to a GitHub repository. The get leads function is really efficient and well documented. I wonder how come you write such beautiful code. You must have been studying a lot, right? Are you looking for a job, by the way? Right? You don't want to go overboard. This sounds way too creepy. So you want to find some good balance, right, between being way too generic and boring and too creepy. So something just right, something that is a little more personalized, something that shows that you looked through the profile on GitHub, you identified something interesting, you mentioned it in an email, and yeah, that's it. So usually we like to actually go through these topics with recruiters who already understand the IT foundation. You know, this is what we usually start with. As you can see on this screenshot, I'll make it a little bigger. So we start with the IT terminologies and methodology with the IT roles, because only then you can actually approach developers with confidence, right? As soon as you have this foundation, you can improve your interviewing skills or sourcing skills, not just on LinkedIn, because everyone is on LinkedIn, but also on GitHub or Stack Overflow, right? And eventually, we like to help recruiters become end-to-end partners to CTOs. So this is what we work on. We usually start with lots of like mind maps. With you know, we like to help recruiters understand these terms, even give it to some context, historical context, which is really often very important, and then look at different roles. So you can see here, based on what you are hiring, a web developer or a front-end developer or a back-end developer, full stack developer, or you can even go more granular, like a full stack C# developer or a mobile app developer developing cross-platform applications, right? We go more granular and we look at it through the recruitment lenses. So what to ask a hiring manager, how to analyze the job description, how to source, how to screen, how to interview, and we give you examples, like what would a senior CTO or a senior technical lead do, how they would approach developers, how would they get their attention. So we actually train recruiters in companies like Accenture or SAP, Experis, 021 Search, Kelly Services, Reed. So if at any point you would like to, you know, learn more about IT recruitment, so how to actually become a senior, very experienced recruiter, then this may be helpful. You can see that we have really great ratings and testimonials, even on Trustpilot. So we are here to help you become more confident recruiters. You can go to github.com/store if you'd like to learn more as an individual. If you have a team and you would like to upskill them to onboard new joiners, then you can also go to github.com/for-teams, and we will see how can we help you and your team become the best IT recruiters in town. All right, so I'll wrap it up here. I encourage you guys to go through the document I have shared, and hopefully it's in comments. You can immediately start searching for developers on GitHub. And if you'd like to learn more and get better at IT recruitment, then definitely go to geekculture.com. So it's geekculture.com/academy.